I'm Bill Moomaw. I'm at the Fletcher School at Tufts University, and I have the pleasure of moderating this panel this morning. What kind of an Arctic do we need? And to help answer that question, I have four experts here. Phil Duffy, who is the CEO of the Woods Hole Research Center, Jennifer Francis, who is a research scientist at Rutgers University, Sue Natali, who is a scientist at the Woods Hole Research Center, and Rafe Pomerantz from Arctic 21. So let me just try to set the context. What kind of Arctic are we getting would be the first question. And you've all seen these pictures. I just thought this was a great way to illustrate that since 1933 to 2010, this picture, which is a half-and-half picture, shows what's happened to the Mittifaket Glacier in Greenland. And why are we getting the Arctic that we have? It's a gift to the Arctic from mid-latitudes. Those of us who are mid-latitude residents have been spewing carbon dioxide from our energy use, both from stationary sources and mobile sources. And then, in addition, there have been contributions from deforestation in the tropics and the mid-latitudes, and even in the boreal forests in many cases. So we are adding the carbon dioxide and methane and other greenhouse gases from our industrial processes to the atmosphere. And that's leading to the following. The Arctic returns the favor by altering the global climate. And most of us in the mid-latitudes, I've heard people say this, isn't it great that all the bad things are happening far from me in the Arctic, or the ozone hole over Antarctica, as though that has nothing to do with what happens to us in mid-latitudes and the tropics. But what's troubling is that the Arctic is warming faster than the rest of the world. This is just showing the first half of each year, comparing it to the first half of 2016. And as you can see, the Arctic has had this dramatic spike in the last several years, in the 21st century, and this year, a particularly high spike. Now, we've not been sitting back and doing nothing. As you all know, last December in Paris, we got the climate agreement. And I found this wonderful slide showing the Eiffel Tower with this sign on it. Earlier, there was another sign which said, picking up on Ban Ki-moon's statement, there is no planet B, right? There's another picture that had that. So 1.5 degrees is what we should strive for, as the Secretary General said. But we are already flirting with 1.5 degrees. Earlier this year, almost touched on a 1.5 degree increase above basically the turn of the entrance to the 20th century. Now, of course, it depends what baseline you're choosing, and that keeps hopping around. Different people use different baselines. But the point is, we have seen substantial warming. We're almost at that limit, and we have just begun to address things. So how can we and why must we keep the Arctic we need? Well, we cannot continue the trajectory we're on. And you'll hear from the participants of this panel some of the things that are happening and some of the things that we might do. I'd like to use a phrase from Henry David Thoreau, who said they went to the woods to live deliberately. We need to learn to live deliberately in the 21st century in order to avoid the worst aspects of climate change. And whether it's personal actions, such as these zero-net energy houses in northern New England, or the forests that are being protected from destruction and being restored, we need to have those actions, and we need to have the policies at the government level. But of course, as the Secretary General said, we can't leave it to governments alone. But they have to be part of the picture, and we have to have actions individually, at our institutional levels, at our workplaces, the business community, all of them working together. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Phil Duffy.